Kijkers en luisteraars, meneer David Fojo, dat is de man van Green Architecture. Hij is de gast bij ons in de studio en wij vragen hem wat hij daar nou precies mee bedoelt. Mr. Fojo, very welcome in our study. Could you please explain to our viewers and listeners what really is green architecture?
Okay, well, green architecture is actually a fairly mainstream way of designing and in harmony with all the laws of nature, where the building has the minimal impact on the environment. And what I include within it too is also healthy building, which is we can make the building support health rather than detract from health. So what we do in my company, which is called Fojo Design and Develop, we take green architecture, which is I think pretty well known, doesn't need that much explanation, but I'll answer whatever questions you want. And we take healthy building, which is a bit more of a newer science, healthy building using good air quality, good light quality, smart building technology, all of these things. And then we take the ancient design science of Vastu, which is a very beautiful ancient science for making buildings that make people happier and healthier, sleep better, and literally more prosperous. So we take all of these different techniques, the best from the East, the best from different countries of the world, the best from the West, the best from the ancient times, and there's a lot of wisdom the ancient masters knew, a lot that modern architects completely miss. And then we take the best from modern times, just good, practical, good architecture. We put it in a pot, we stir it all together, and we make a new kind of architecture, which I can promise you, Jan, is a quantum leap superior to normal architecture. It really can make radically better buildings that will make you be more productive and happier. And then building by building, and by making better communities and better office complexes, we can make Suriname a much, much better place. So that's one of the reasons why I'm here.
I understand you have built already in Trinidad and Tobago. Mm-hmm. But what really is the difference between the way how you are doing it and the traditional way of building?
Right.
For instance, just to ask maybe a stupid question, would your type of building still be standing today in Fukushima,
right,
after the earthquake and the tsunami?
Right. Well, so I would think that the buildings we do are stronger than normal for sure. And we also make sure that in all of our homes we use hurricane straps and we meet all of the earthquake codes. It's very important. In the so-called third world countries, they don't have proper building codes. Like in Trinidad, for example, we are supposedly more advanced than the rest of the Caribbean in some ways, but yet for somehow we don't actually have a legal building code. But we follow the International Building Code, which I think probably should be adopted by Suriname. The International Building Code has very strict codes for earthquakes and for hurricane and so forth. So even though it's not mandatory, we follow that. Now, there's also, this is a very unusual point, but Vastu, by using sacred geometry, is actually a stronger building because the geometry of nature is stronger. And there's also some, by improving the energy of the building, you will find that somehow nature supports that building, and in some strange cases even survive fires and they survive tsunamis for ways that defy science, and we don't really quite understand it. But buildings that have these special characteristics, they almost have some divine power somehow, which simply means that science can't quite understand, where there have been cases where there have been fires coming and they go through a town and they burn all the buildings except for the Vastu buildings. Very strange.
Has that happened? Has that happened anywhere in the world?
Yeah, well, I have a little story in my briefcase over there where there's a documentation of that, where there was this bushfire, and for some reason the fire went around the Vastu building and burned all the other buildings. So, I mean, that's a very unusual thing, but the short point that I want to make is that by combining all of these best technologies into this new style of architecture, we can make buildings where you literally and measurably will sleep better. That's a huge fact, that you literally and measurably, by science and statistics and hospital admissions, we can prove that you will be healthier in these buildings. And science is beginning to understand it. We don't fully understand it, but it works. You know, I know because I've built buildings like this. I've lived in buildings like this. So if you can say you're going to sleep better, you are healthier in these buildings, you can become, and I can guarantee this, it sounds surprising. I even surprise myself when I say it. You can become more prosperous in these buildings. If it's a firm, you will become more prosperous because your employees will think a bit more creatively. They will have better communication between each other, and they'll be more productive. And then we support that with more scientific ways of doing it, like we've got very good air quality, good light quality, good ergonomics in the seating and so forth, which are the more Western scientific ways. But combined with the ancient geometry ways of doing it, we can create buildings where, in summary, you're healthier and you're more prosperous.
But so, this is hard to understand.
Yes, it is. It is hard to understand. I'll probably need a few weeks to really understand it.
Could you give just one little example? What does make a building? What is the difference to make a building make people sleep better and feel better? What should you do to make somebody